Hello, everybody. I'm Jory Van Horn, and I've got my family here as an audience. This is my daughter Henna, my husband Jason, and my daughter Bryn. They're teenagers, so they should qualify here for audience members. I did my term paper on understanding nonverbal communication, and I actually I titled my paper that as nonverbal communication being the loudest form of communication. So that was kind of my argument. It is estimated that people speak as much nonverbally as they do verbally. During a typical conversation, though we are generally unaware of doing so, people are constantly creating, evaluating, and interpreting meaning as they scrutinize their conversational partner's gestures, movements, physical appearances, and possibly most importantly, facial expressions. Understanding nonverbal communication begins with kinesics, or body movement. The primary components that make up kinesics are gestures and body posture or orientation. So I used some, in order to get through this paper, I used examples to kind of explain each point. So my example for kinesics using gestures and body posture really is if you imagine yourself on a Friday night after a long week, you decide to get in your pajamas and go to bed early, and then there's a knock on the front door. So you get up and out of bed, and you don't really want to, but you do, and you go to see who's at the door, but you want to be polite, so you're speaking politely, but your body tells a different story because you might be standing with your arms crossed and kind of just glancing at your watch, or if you're not wearing that anymore, at the clock. And the people at the door, whoever that is, your in-laws or whoever is visiting, they'll kind of pick up on that usually, and they'll just choose to, make their either stay or go, depending on, not only what you're saying, but also what your body is saying to them. So that was kind of my examples of that. So I had another example, and this one was less about gestures and more about body posture and orientation. And this is I used another example of a mother and a teenager having a conversation, and you just kind of imagine the mom talking to her teen, and her teen's head is down and to the side, and maybe she's kind of slouched over, and she's saying all the right things to the mom, but the mom is reading. She's not even listening to what the teenager is saying. She's reading the body posture and orientation, and then she's just making a judgment based off of that, saying the teenager is being disrespectful. That is another example. Physical characteristics are defined as the aspects of physical appearance, such as body size, skin color, hair color and style, facial hair, and facial features. Body artifacts are items that we wear as part of our physical appearance and that have the potential to communicate, such as clothing, religious symbols, military medals, body piercings, and tattoos. And those definitions were found in the text. The reason that physical characteristics and body artifacts are an important part of nonverbal communication is because they are the first features that people notice when encountering one another. People typically and sometimes unconsciously classify other people into like groups based upon their physical attractiveness, body features, and artifacts. So my example for this is imagine that you're out and about and you encounter a group of women, and they're wearing long dresses that go all the way down to their feet, and their hair is tied up in a bonnet, and maybe in a bun and then a bonnet on top. Based on this classification, they're more than likely a devout religious group. So something just as simple as how you dress, like artifacts, body artifacts, gives away, like says volumes more than any long conversation would ever say. So just these people dressed that way are really getting a point across to you. Now, what that point is, I mean, you can't. That's when it gets sticky because people like to jump to conclusions, and that's something that we shouldn't do. So even though they're making a point, it is really important that we don't just jump to those conclusions and judge people based on their appearance alone, because that is when it gets that's when people end up getting like stereotyped and things like that, and that's a dangerous area to go to. Facial communication is typically the most revealing form of verbal communication. This is because the face is so closely tied to a person's emotions, and it is almost like a window into a person's inner psyche. So much so that it is very closely examined in situations like police interrogations. And I would use an example, but I think we're running out of time. So I'm just going to kind of go forward, and I'm just going to go over another point real quick here, and that is paralanguage. I found paralanguage to be like a really interesting topic. It's the study of a person's voice. It includes qualities like pitch, rate, volume, tempo, laughing, muttering, groaning, ums and uhs, all that kind of stuff, sounds and the speed of your voice, all that stuff. It's all in paralanguage. So basically, my example for this is if you use the expression, "Why did you do that?" and you say it in a couple different ways, you can actually get that could translate into like different meanings, even though you're saying the same words. So if you say it like really sharp and loud, "Why did you do that?" then it's, it would mean something different than if you were to say, "Why did you do that?" So those are kind of examples of how those might translate differently using paralectics. In conclusion, the world of nonverbal communication cannot be valued enough. It is simply at the heart of communication and is necessary in order to exchange and translate concepts. Again, without much consciousness, humans are constantly scrutinizing one another's actions, physical appearances, body language, body artifacts, gestures, posture and positioning, eyes, smiles, tones of voice, and it goes on and on. It is part of how we make sense of what is being said. It is also something we evaluate when it does not match up with what is being said. That is why nonverbal communication is arguably the loudest form of communication. Thank you.